Hey there YouTube, Wrestling Optimus here, back with Night 2 of the 2023 WWE Draft. This serves as my chance to reorganize the action figure drawers while recapping Monday Night Raw, so let's just jump right into it. Things kick off once again with Triple H, who has a few housekeeping items. First, the World Heavyweight Championship will now be exclusive to Raw, after Roman Reigns and the undisputed WWE Universal Championship were drafted to SmackDown. Also, Brock Lesnar is officially a free agent who can just appear wherever he wants. Anyway, that brings us to round 1. We'll start up here in the women's drawer because Raw's first pick is Rhea Ripley, the SmackDown Women's Champion, lending further credence to the idea that we're getting another belt swap. And while we're up here, SmackDown countered by drafting Charlotte Flair. Then, Raw drafted Seth Rollins, who is currently the favorite to win the World Heavyweight Championship, while SmackDown drafted his former protege Austin Theory, who brings his United States Championship over to SmackDown, while Gunther and his Intercontinental Championship were drafted to Raw this past Friday night. This means each show will have its own mid-card title. Continuing on with Raw, Paul Heyman came out and kind of buried the new World Heavyweight Championship belt, agreeing with most critics that it will always be considered the secondary title to whatever Roman is holding until he's beat. Then, Paul is interrupted by Seth Rollins, who threatens Heyman until Solo comes to his rescue. Our first match of the evening is Damage Control's Bayley and Dakota Kai taking on the Women's Tag Team Champions of Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Somewhat predictably, Bayley wins with a surprise roll-up. That brings us to round 2, hosted by Booker T and Queen Sharmell. Raw drafts first and picks the undisputed Tag Team Champions Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, to which SmackDown responds by drafting the Usos, completing the bloodline on the blue brand. Meanwhile, despite all the talk heading into the draft about separating groups and tag teams, none of them were actually separated. Case in point, Raw's very next pick was all of Judgment Day, minus Rhea, who was already drafted. That's a 3-in-1 pick. Not to be outdone, SmackDown drafted the entire LWO, including Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, Cruz del Toro, and Zelina Vega. That's a 5-for-1 pick. Whatever, let's get all of these guys down into their respective bins. Next up, Ricochet and Braun Strowman take on the Alpha Academy, who are strangely accompanied by Maxine Dupree, even though her and the Maximum Male models were already drafted to Raw in the kind of supplemental draft this past Friday. Either way, Ricochet does an impressive senton bomb off Strowman's shoulders for the win. Round 3 is supposed to be next, hosted by HBK and Adam Pearce, but it's interrupted by Brock Lesnar. Pearce calls out security, but Brock's attacked from behind by Cody. The two are separated by the security, and now Pearce seems to be missing. So Shawn Michaels carries on by himself, announcing that Raw has drafted Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, who just got done competing, and bring the Women's Tag Team Championships over to the Red brand. SmackDown followed that up by drafting Asuka, despite the recent rumors that she wants out of her contract. Then we head back to the men's drawer as Raw selects the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, without Big E of course because he's still injured. Meanwhile, SmackDown makes another 3-in-1 pick by selecting the Brawling Brutes of Sheamus, Butch, and Ridge Holland. The next match was Matt Riddle vs. Jimmy Uso. Riddle comes out with KO and Sammy, while Jimmy only comes out with Jay. But after some ringside shenanigans by Sami Zayn, Jay gets ejected, and now the baby faces have a 3-on-1 advantage? That's not how this is supposed to work. But it gets worse as they cheat with an exposed turnbuckle to give Matt Riddle the tainted victory. Backstage, Jay confronts Solo for not being at ringside, but he and Paul walk out while deflecting. Which then brings us to round 4, curiously hosted by Eric Bischoff and Rob Van Dam again. And even more curious, Raw's first pick is Trish Stratus. Does that mean she's officially active again? Now while we're in the women's drawer, we might as well grab Raw's other pick, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, another tag team not split up. While SmackDown drafted Karrion Kross, who goes along with Scarlett, so we'll grab her, and LA Knight, who I don't have a figure for. We get a brief Miz TV segment next as Shinsuke comes out and teaches the crowd how to say tiny balls in Japanese. Then Omos squashes a guy named Anthony Alanis, while Corey Graves makes terrible Alanis Morissette references on commentary. Round 5 is hosted by Hall of Famers Road Dogg and Molly Holly, who announce that Ricochet and Braun Strowman are staying together as a strange tag team and just got drafted to Raw, along with Bronson Reed, who I don't have a figure for yet, but might soon. Meanwhile, SmackDown drafts Shotzi, no Blackheart, and Pretty Deadly, yes boy, out of NXT, who obviously I don't have figures for. The Judgment Day comes out next as Damian Priest cuts a promo on Bad Bunny in Spanish, and then Dominic gets absolutely booed out of the building. There is epic heat on Dom, but it's matched by equally epic cheers for his dad Rey Mysterio. This leads to a fun intergender 6-man match between the LWO's Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and Zelina Vega, and Judgment Day's Dominic Mysterio, Damian Priest, and Rhea Ripley. There's lots of great spots, especially where Rhea confronts the men, before Balor takes a 619 for the team, allowing Priest to hit the South of Heaven for the win. Cody Rhodes cuts a quick promo on Brock Lesnar backstage before Bianca Belair's interview is interrupted by Damage Control. Then, just like on Friday night, JBL and Teddy Long come out to host the 6th and final round of the draft. Raw selects the Alpha Academy, meaning we get to continue this terrible story between the Maximum Male Models and Otis, while SmackDown selects Rick Boogs, who I don't have a figure for, but just like Bronson Reed, I might soon. We'll get this out of the way first. Cameron Grimes, to the moon, is going to SmackDown, so let's bring his figure down. Then, we need to talk about Raw's last pick, as they select Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. This is strange because they just challenged the current NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Alba Fire and Isla Dawn to a match this week on NXT for the titles. And with the current champs having already been called up to SmackDown on night 1 of the draft, that means no matter who wins this week, the titles are leaving NXT. I really don't know how Shawn Michaels is gonna book himself out of this one. But that does it for the draft. Our final match of the night was the main event between Solo Sikoa and Seth Rollins. Towards the end though, the Usos come out and cause a DQ, and leads to KO, Sammy, and Riddle making the save before an immediate cut to black. Before Raw went off the air though, it was announced that a couple of supplemental picks were made on social media. This includes the Viking Raiders going to Raw, along with obviously Valhalla, and she'll be joined in the women's division by Candice LeRae, Sonya Deville, and Natalya. Whereas the men's division will also pick up Dexter Lumis and Apollo Crews, whose most recent stint was down in NXT. Meanwhile, SmackDown gets all of Hit Row, none of whom have figures, as well as Lacey Evans, in whatever gimmick she's rocking this week. Anyway, that's gonna do it for night 2 of the WWE Draft. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you liked the video, make sure to do all that normal YouTube stuff. Smash the like button, share with any wrestling or action figure fans you may know, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. You can also talk to me over on Twitter at WrestlingOptimus, or see all my best figure photography over on Instagram at WrestlingOptimus. If you haven't seen my latest video, it should be on screen now. But until next time, I've been Wrestling Optimus, and I'll catch you later.